Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative. Me too, Josette Halpert about Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies on Paramount Plus. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
PD Beats, thank you for having me.
I mean, this is exciting. I have to tell you something. I remember when this show was announced, and I feel like it's such a crazy thing where I put on my calendar the announcements of these dates and the release dates, and now it's fun. Like, episodes are rolling out on Paramount Plus. Like, is it starting to hit you that people are able to see it? Like, it's pretty crazy, right?
I bet we have matching calendars, PD, because I am so excited. I am also counting down for every episode.
It's wild because, you know, one of the things that I just love about this show is just how cinematic it is.
It is. I mean, I grew up loving musicals and loving those old classic Hollywood films, and it really does feel a lot like that.
It does, absolutely. And I kind of want to know because, you know, I feel like an audition process for a show like this, I feel like it can go either way. I feel like they tell you a lot, they don't tell you much. So what can you tell me about the audition process for this and like what song you chose to sing? Was there dancing involved? Like, I love the audition stories for Grease the Rise of the Pink Ladies.
Oh, I could imagine you've heard some stuff. My story, it goes on, but I'll keep it succinct just for this. It was an absolute whirlwind. I originally auditioned for the role of Lydia, which was then played by my friend Nieves, who originally auditioned for Dot. So we kind of role reverse there. And then I got given 3 other auditions for other characters, and no one was available to do my audition reading with me. It was during the pandemic. My sister had exams. My usual readers were busy. And so I was going to have to say no to this audition. But I am a super fan of Grease, and I needed to do it. And so I was complaining to my mother, and she said, "Oh, I will get into the car, and I will be there in an hour, learn your lines, and we're going to do it together." And I really do think that that's what gave me the edge, is because I'm so comfortable around my mom. I just went crazy in that audition, and I immediately resonated with Dot. She is wacky, she is wild.
She's a lot of fun.
And she's so much fun, Petey. And so I really did give it my all, and fingers crossed. And then I got put through for a callback, and I took some wild risks. I was blowing bubbles in my water, pretending it was a milkshake. And Annabelle and Olivia were like, absolutely keep doing that. And that's how I knew I wanted to be on the show. It was destined, because they were so down for my weirdness. And then I had a dance audition where I had to move all the furniture out of my living room. And my sister came home at the end of the day and was like, "What is going on in here?" And I was dancing to Grease is the Word in the living room. And then I sang Friend Like Me, Disney, which is very Dot. Like, why would you be singing a Disney song for a Paramount audition? But she's just in her own little world, and she wanted friends, and that's what I went with.
Dawn is that character that is very hard to read sometimes in terms of who she hangs out with, because there's kind of there's a lot of characters like Rosemary played by Charlotte, that's a mean, she's mean, you know what I mean, and everything. Dawn is kind of a little misunderstood, and there's complexity with that, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. And I think I added I injected a lot of that, because originally she came off very wealthy and very bratty, and I wanted to find that layer to her.
Yeah.
That maybe she's just out of touch with reality and very unaware that even her friends don't really like her, and she's just so oblivious to the world around her that she just keeps falling into mayhem.
I feel like it's interesting also because I feel like you look at a character, you're presented like a character and everything and the scripts, and then you go and film it. Do a lot of kind of pivots, so to speak, happen naturally, in your opinion, where you just kind of go in and shoot it, and it's oh, she's actually I'm actually doing this line a lot different than I thought I was, an original script. Does that happen a lot?
Oh, definitely. I think the dynamic between my character and Madison, Thompson's character, Susan, was never intended to be this very maternal almost instinct, and she's slapping my hands away and covering my eyes, and it was very a tag team duo of comedy, and it wasn't originally written like that. And I think it just happened that our characters really jived well together and had this like funny instinct.
Yeah, and it's so crazy. And I told you before we started, I mean, one of my favorite episodes is Dot has a party.
Yes.
And at her house. And I love
no shoes allowed.
Even though I love that. I just love the set of that house. Like I just love I want to know more about that scene selfishly because I like it. I'm a fan.
It was like really having a party with all of your best friends, and there was candy everywhere. And I mean, we weren't supposed to eat it, but we definitely did.
Dot's doing like a tour of the house. Like Dot is just like on point as the host of this party.
It was incredible. It was so much fun to do. And that whole World Without Boys sequence, I mean, eating cake with your hands, like that's every girl's dream at a party.
It is so amazing. I do find it very interesting in regards to, it's official, you know, you're joining Grease Rise the Pink Ladies, your cast is Dot, you're doing it. I feel like everyone that was cast for this project was in a really unique kind of situation because I feel like there's familiar territory and unfamiliar territory. Grease is one of the greatest musicals of all time. We know a lot about the characters. We know that this is going to be a prequel, but we don't know the specific characters that we're going to meet in this prequel at Rydell High. We don't know much, you know what I mean? So like, we know things, but at the same time, we don't know things. Did you think about that at all? I'm just curious about that.
Absolutely. We have such huge shoes to fill. I mean, we all, as a cast and our creator and our entire team, we adore Grease. We adore the original material and we want to do it justice and just expand on that world and give as much as we can to maybe the stories that didn't have time to be expanded on in the original and in the second film. So for sure.
Is there so before you were cast, did you watch the Grease movie a good amount of times? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have watched that ever since I was little. I mean, maybe too young to be watching it, but I definitely was.
You know, it's funny because, and I'm so happy that there's kind of a version of it in Rise of the Pink Ladies, but Grease by Frankie Valli, I'm not even kidding you, it's probably one of like my favorite songs of all time.
Oh, it's
like
iconic.
I listen to that song all the time.
It's just, you put it on and it's just immediately a feel-good vibe. You can't help but smile and groove along. And I really hope that some of our original music has that same quality to it. I think it does.
100%. In terms of a character from the original Grease movies that you can relate to Josette Halpert, not Dot.
Okay.
To you, do you have one in mind?
Immediately my brain goes to Patty Simcox. Just like the like super sugary, high energy, like expects everyone to be lifelong best friends. Like that's totally how I am. I wish that I was a cheerleader in high school. We didn't have cheer, but my mom was a cheerleader, and I guess I got to be a cheerleader on Grease, so I got a little bit of that. So I think I would be the Patty Simcox of the group. That's
a really good answer. Now that's a good segue to my next question, because when I got the episodes in advance, what I'm about to ask you, I thought was like the biggest spoiler of all time. Like I didn't think I could talk about this at all, but like now the episodes are out, so we know. When did you all find out about the swerve of what kind of prequel it was? That it was like Frenchie's older sister? Like I'm just curious about that, because that like blew my mind. Because by the time this interview was out, most of it, like, we're not gonna get in trouble. We're fine. But like that freaked me out when I saw that. That was crazy.
And I've seen so many fan reactions getting all excited, and I wish we had recorded our reactions. Actually, it might be from our table read, because my jaw was on the floor with you guys.
I didn't expect that at all.
And that's not the only twist and turn that's coming, so
all right.
I'm gonna keep watching.
You're getting me excited. But I imagine it's not even a spoiler at all, because I believe you meet Frenchie in episode 2, right?
Yes, you
Which
do.
is out now.
Yes,
so
and Madison does the voice so perfectly too. I mean, the young Frenchie and Rizzo are just they capture the essence of those characters.
So happy to see that. Now it's funny because, and I'm sure a lot of I went in super fresh with this, by the way. Like I just wanted to watch it, I went in, but I'm sure like if you look at the timelines of everything, some people might have, like, some big, like, the diehard Grease fans will kind of figure it out. You know what I mean? If you think about, like, the timelines of where, like, I think it's, like, 1954 and 1940. Like, there's, like, a 4-year gap. Yep. If you think about. Mm-hmm. So, but my mind was blown. Like, I was so happy about that. which is amazing. What would you say? This might be a really tough question to answer, but
right,
do your best. You can give me like, there's so many, because there's the singing, there's the dancing, there's the musical theater component. There's so many components in this. Mm-hmm. But like, was there one that you love the most about it? Did you like the singing the most? Did you like the dancing? Did you like the acting? It's tough. 100% is a tough question.
That is so tough. I think I would have to say dancing was my favorite, just because.
So was it that hard? You knew right away. Yeah, dancing.
Well, it's my gut instinct is dance, just because that's kind of how I got started in this industry. Mm-hmm. I was a really anxious child, and my parents put me in dance to try to break me out of my shell. And after 1 year on stage, I went from saying that I would die if I ever stepped foot on stage to perform. 1 year later, after dance, I wanted to be in acting, and I wanted to perform for the rest of my life. Yeah. And so it really did transform my life. And this is my first project in a really long time that I've got to dance again. And so it's been really exciting to be able to do that.
Did you do a good amount of musical theater before this, or just a little bit?
I did
none. None. Because I feel like it's interesting, because have you done any like theater at all?
Yes, I've done theater and I've done dancing. I've done them both separate. This is my first time doing it all together.
So for my high school productions, I was on like the stage crew. So I was like the follow spot operator and the light operator. I have to say, and there's like this energy the day of a performance. Like you wake up and you're like not even in the show, and it's not even like an hour before you go on, but you're like, wow, like we're performing in front of people. There's this like energy in the air that is just the best.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with me on that?
Oh, I totally agree. And also, I was also the backstage. That's where I was in high school, was helping out backstage, doing the costumes, the lighting, all of that. So I totally understand what you mean.
It's so amazing as well. Did you have an opportunity? Was there a lot of like karaoke that was maybe done like off set with anyone?
There wasn't a ton.
It was during COVID, right? So it was kind of. It must have been hard, but like I feel like your cast loves the karaoke. I feel like I get that vibe.
So there wasn't a ton of karaoke. However, I'm about to call out some cast members that we all lived in the same building, and so there was a lot of loud singers. And so I would send messages. Jason was my neighbor for a little bit, who you just had on the show, and I would send him a message and be like, "You sound so good today," and he would be like, "I am so sorry, it's too early to be singing," and I would be like, "No, keep it up, please. You're like, I'm making my morning coffee and it's beautiful," and then you'd walk down the hall and you'd hear like Cheyenne belting, and it was just incredible. So that was our version of karaoke, was just the entire floor singing.
I interviewed Cheyenne about that was my first interview for Grease Brad's Pink Ladies, and it was interesting because there was a lot of like, I didn't realize how, like when you talked about your auditions and everything, I didn't realize that, like, it seemed like there was a balance in like everything in these auditions. Like it seemed like there was a good amount of dancing, an equal amount of acting, an equal amount of singing. You know what I mean? Like it sounds like it was down the middle, sliced equally.
Well, I think all of them are so important, especially in this story. And so it was really crucial for the creators to find people who could do all of it.
For sure. Were there any pranks on set? Anything? I'm sure there was, or like, I'm sure there's like inside jokes or anything funny on set that happened.
The T-Birds were notorious for pranking on set. As you could imagine, we had April Fools on set last year, and we came back from filming, and all of our set chairs had been flipped upside down, turned inside out. We had boots flying this way and that way. People had hidden people's like outfits, their hats and gloves. Everything was all over the place with big heart that said, "Love the T-Birds."
So you knew it was them the whole time.
Oh yeah. They owned it.
It would have been funny if like someone was very kind of stealth about like a prank, and then you find out the person did it who like you did not expect at all. Like I love.
There was, I'm about to spill everything. Don't get me talking about the prank, because I'm about to throw the boys under the bus. There was one time where one of the T-Birds pulled a prank on who they thought was another T-Bird, but they switched around our trailers. And so they ended up ruining Jackie Hoffman's trailer instead.
Can you confirm that this was either Alexis or Maxwell?
I can confirm nor deny.
Already, maybe it was them. I don't know. You never know. Oh my god. We'll just leave it at that. Last question before we wrap up as well. And I want to get back to, it's funny because Grease of the World, that was like the first thing that we saw basically as an audience, because Paramount graciously gave us that number before the show came out and everything. And that's like the first kind of thing we see in episode 1 pretty much, which I wasn't sure about, you know what I mean? Because it could have went either way. It could have been at the end, it could have been down the road, but like that sequence like is just insane. Like I can't even imagine filming that. Like what was that like specifically?
It was so incredible. It was a lot of hard work, but it was so much fun, especially to start off the entire show with this iconic piece of material. I mean, everything. If you go back and watch, even the background are in character and doing incredible little bits of magic while we're dancing. It is just magic to watch on screen. And the way that camera sweeps across, it's like, oh, it's so good.
It's so crazy. And I can't wait for people to see more episodes. Episodes are kind of rolling out on Paramount Plus. Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies. Josette, so great chatting with you. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Your Instagram account, is it just your name or like Josette? Is it just Josette?
That's it. Keeping it easy.
Absolutely. And there's going to be a lot of like behind the scenes stuff coming out from a lot of the cast.
Got some good stuff.
There's a lot of stuff that was just probably banked for a long time. That's fine.
We've been waiting. We've been waiting for this moment, guys. Everyone go and follow the cast. We've got some stuff coming.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Pop Turn. YouTube.com/Pop Turn for previous episodes. You can, of course, catch Josette Halpert as Dot in Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies on Paramount Plus. Until next time, this is Josette and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.